What's up, everybody? Today I am here with Austin Reed again. How you doing, Austin?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jack?
I'm doing really well. I just woke up. This is my
That's
favorite
good.
thing is to do Skype calls at 10 because that means that I'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to wake up at 9." And then I set an alarm for like 9:45. And then I'm like, "Yeah. All
Uh,
right." and then I'm up and ready. And normally the Skype call uh Skype calls take a surprising amount of energy, especially when they're about an hour. So normally it's best when it's like fresh early in the morning, you know? And then by the end of it, then I'm ready to do whatever it is I'm going to do. In today's case, that's record like 10 videos, so
wow, that's a lot of videos for a day, bro.
yeah. That's because I haven't recorded much in the past couple days. I've only been recording
Right.
Skype conversations recently, but
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Nice.
yeah. And so today we are going to be talking about our beginnings. So I guess that how, how did how did you first hear about dropshipping?
I actually first heard about drop shipping in 2012. Back then, it wasn't really like a full-time thing for me. I just kind of like tried to do it, and I didn't really try. I just kind of posted a couple things because I was a little bit younger, and it didn't really work out well. But, I decided to, pick it back up again in around 2014. And then I made a couple sales, and it was just kind of like a side income for me. I was still like working the job and then started going to school and doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then right around the time when I finished school, I opened my business, and I actually used to sell things in person on Facebook groups. So I used to like flip laptops and stuff like that. And I made that my full-time income. And then I was like thinking to myself, well, hey, what if I could just sit at home and not have to go meet people and sell them things in person? So,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So basically, I started doing the drop shipping thing, and I was like, well, I have bills now, and I have to make this work. So I took it more seriously. I posted more items, and eventually I actually started doing really well. Surprisingly, especially considering that the market definitely was changed around 2016 compared to what it was in 2012. I feel like if I gave it more energy in 2012, I would definitely be a lot further right now.
Probably.
But things happen and whatever, and then so I just started doing it, and it took me about like, I don't know, about 4 or 5 months, and I got my first VA and started doing that. And then I went through a bunch of VAs because I didn't really know how to train people yet.
Yeah.
I didn't really know how to hire people. I'd never really done that before. So I started going through the VAs and stuff, and eventually I got to where I am now. It's where, like, I've got a team of VAs. eBay does what it does, and I can work on it if I want to, but I don't really have to. I
Yeah,
just kind
yeah.
of travel and do whatever, so works out pretty well.
That's pretty awesome. So why do you think it is that you weren't so interested in drop shipping at first, but then later on that changed?
Uh, Partly because my living was paid for at that time, so I
Hmm.
didn't really have to worry about bills as much.
So
The
there
other
wasn't a
reason
sense of
is,
urgency.
no, there wasn't a sense of urgency, and back then I was really into music. I'm super really into music now. That's actually what I want to do for a living, but I wasn't into business yet, right?
Gotcha.
So yeah, everything I was focusing on was, practicing music. And it wasn't until a little bit later that I realized, well, musicians go broke on tour. They don't really have an income. And so if I want to survive in the music world, I need to figure out something that, I can travel and do. And even if I'm not making money in my music, I can still go play and not have to worry about my bills as
Yeah.
much. And so it kind of was that. It was a combination of that, and it was also a combination of me working my first couple jobs, and I was just sick of, going to school full time and working full time on top of it. It was just a little bit too much for me, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really cut out to be an employee. I don't really want to do that,
Hmm.
so it was just a combination of all of those things, man.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's something probably a lot of people relate to, not wanting to be an employee.
Oh, exactly. My first job was actually being a janitor too,
Uh-huh.
and that job completely sucked. It was horrible. And then I was a landscaper, and then I worked at a call center, and the call center one, it paid pretty well, but it was like super stressful.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
It's funny because
so what about,
I'm in Nicaragua now, right? And there's a lot of English call centers here, and so I ride the buses, and there are some times that I'll hear employees get off of their job at the call center, and then they're like bitching to each other in English because obviously most people speak Spanish, but it's just funny hearing people bitch about customers being irate in a bus in Nicaragua. Like,
dude, they get so bad though. Some of those customers, oh my God, they have like no self-control at all over the phone, like
they
at
just
all.
don't care. They don't view who they're talking to as someone with feelings. So
Right,
yeah.
exactly. So hey man, what about you? How'd you get started?
I was originally, I used to be really sick, and I thought I was going to be sick for the rest of my life. I had really, really big problems with fatigue. I wasn't able to make it through a day like most people are. I had to rest a lot, and I was really prone to crashing and headaches and a lot of. There was a balance that was very delicate, let's say. Um, So I had to face that I could not work a normal job, and I had to figure out how to earn money from home. And that's something I'd been interested in for a while anyway. So, but honestly, the sickness really is what was like, okay, I don't have a choice. I have to figure something out, or else my life is going to be miserable. So then I started getting into eBay because I had no idea what dropshipping was. And I was like, well, eBay's something I can do from home. I can sell stuff. And I want to develop video games. So I started selling Nintendo products on eBay. And I would get them off Craigslist and sell like Nintendo 64 games, NES games, all that kind of stuff. And my friends would, I had like no money at the time, like at all. And my friends would buy, I would convince them to invest in me by buying Nintendo products from Craigslist when I would find good deals, and then I'd give them the money back when I sold everything. And so my friends put in like $800, and that enabled me to do a lot. And then I paid them back and everything. But I got some really good friends. It was definitely pretty awesome. But so I did that for like a year, and I didn't really make much money off of it. But it was definitely like that's when I grew the eBay account more, and I started getting into commission sales. So that's when somebody gives you something and you sell it and then you give them the money instead of buying it from them and then selling it. I was working with a guy who did Storage Wars. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that, but Storage
Yeah,
Wars
yeah.
is when you, like in the States, something like 2/3 of all people have a storage lot or some crazy, 2/3 of all house owners have a storage lot, something like that. So when people default or they die or they forget to make their payments, their stuff just gets auctioned away. So I would go with this guy to buy storage lots, and then he would give me stuff that he finds in those lots to sell on eBay. And I would sell them, and then I'd get to keep half of the money, which was a really, really good setup. And so I did that for a while, came across a whole bunch of like weird shit, like old dentistry equipment and just tons and
Wow.
tons of stuff, servers, other computer stuff, lots of cool games. So then the other thing I started doing was selling Magic the Gathering cards, because
Oh,
they
I
have,
remember that game.
yeah, and there are some really valuable Magic the Gathering cards. And my friend knew this guy who was like trying to get rid of his collection, and he had like 29,000 cards. So he gave me all of his valuable cards, and it was a pile like this big. And I sold all of those for about $4,000 individually. So that racked up like 300 or 400 feedback on my eBay account. Nothing I did got me as much feedback as that did. But so after that, a friend of mine sent me a link to a course. It was about like how to sell stuff on, how I sold like $100,000 on eBay with no inventory, whatever David Vu's course used to be called. And so then I took that drop shipping course, and then I was like, wait, you can sell stuff without having to find it, without having to clean it, without having to package it, without having to make photos. It's everything I'm already doing except minus like 70% of the work. So I was all into it. And I started manually posting items like David Vu does, or the way that course teaches. And I did that for like 7 or 8 months. And then I was making a little bit of money, but it just wasn't like, it was really tedious, you know, like manually posting items. And so I ended up, that's when I first started doing the bulk work. Was because I had a feeling that if I could figure out a way to be even a little bit profitable, but in a way that doesn't consume much time, then that can scale very well because your eBay account limits scale exponentially, right? So if you can match a portion of your income to your eBay account limit, then your income is determined by your eBay account limit. And that's like the premise behind bulk. The insertion fees are a big deal, but now in 2 months, less than 2 months, insertion fees are going to be half as expensive for bulk, so it's looking good. But yeah, that's how I got into drop shipping, and that was like, I think I've been drop shipping for like 2 years now, a bit more than 2 years.
Nice. Yeah, and how long did it take for you to make a livable income off of drop shipping, do you think?
See, I'm not a good example of that because I didn't focus on trying to make a livable income. I was focused on learning as much as possible and starting a YouTube channel, because when I started dropshipping, I wasn't a YouTuber, and I wanted to be a YouTuber for a long time. It was definitely one of my like long-term career goals. Being a YouTuber and making video games are like my life dreams. So my focus was on my YouTube channel instead of trying to get myself to a point where I can earn money, because I was happy to make YouTube videos and be a barista at Starbucks and do the drop shipping stuff. That being said, it took like pretty much when I left for Grind Camp is when I was able to like, I drop shipped enough that I was able to pay my bills. I didn't have a course set up. I didn't have much money from YouTube yet. And it's not like I have a whole lot now, but I earn like a grand and a half from YouTube, from the affiliate stuff and ad payments and all that. And then the courses just blew up as well, so that's another grand. And that's not drop shipping stuff, so everything drop shipping related is on top of that. But so July 2017 was probably the point where it turned around, because that's when I quit my job. But that was so about a year and a half, I think.
A year and a half.
Yeah, and again, that's with me not focusing on there were loads of things that I knew that I could do to be profitable, like optimizing titles and hiring a virtual assistant, and I wasn't doing those because I was happy to just keep making YouTube videos about bulk, because there isn't much information about bulk. So you can definitely do it shorter time if you're committed.
Yeah, I feel you. I actually got some of my eBay accounts banned like a couple months ago, 7 or 8 months ago, and it actually wasn't even my fault. It was because me and my brother were business partners, and he started posting things like bongs and like medical supplies. Yeah. And eBay doesn't really like that. So yeah, eBay, and it wasn't even my account. His account got suspended, but because we used, the same internet, and we kind of like logged into each other's accounts from time to time, it just associated my account with his account, and it completely banned it. And I was living by myself at the time, and off of drop shipping. I wasn't doing the in-person sales anymore. So it was like I just lost my income, like poof. And it took me about another 45 days to go from like a brand new account to actually making rent and surviving again.
That's good.
Yeah, so for you people out there like that are looking into drop shipping, I mean, do it. It's definitely plausible. I mean, these aren't just like, random success stories that you're never gonna do. I mean, if you actually work on it, it's completely possible. Yeah, definitely is.
That's why people make an argument that like, it's too competitive now. There's too many people doing it. Is drop shipping dying? All those kind of things. And you like, there's the like mentality that's guaranteed to fail, and no matter what you try and do in life, no matter how competitive it actually is or any of that, people are going to be like, this isn't going to work, this is stupid, this is why you should never do this. And you got to just ignore all that shit, because You can expect it to be there. You can expect that shitty opinion to exist, and you just have to ignore it and then just keep going and keep learning and applying yourself. Because on the other hand, while it is more competitive, there is so much more information available now. Even if you're not paying for anything, like, there is so much more free information available. There is so much more different kinds of software available. There's just so much more, like, and constantly changes are being made to platforms. You can always stay ahead of your competition if you just pay attention to those changes and adapt to them quicker than other people. Because most people, they hear change and they're like, it's gonna ruin everything, and they just bitch about it forever. And you just gotta, day 1 or 2 of the change, make a change in your business. And if you keep doing that, then you'll do well.
Yeah, I feel like one of the most important things is your mindset. So, like, even if it is like a competitive market or whatever, if you just never stop and you just keep going and going and going, eventually you're going to see some sort of success.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the people that have the doubt in the back of their mind that have trouble actually manifesting these things. And the people that, like, never stop and they just jump in it and they're like, this is going to work, or this is going to work, and there's no other option. Those are the people that I'm seeing that are really succeeding in these businesses. So, yeah, I can definitely see how the doubt and, the confidence definitely changes, like, just how well your business does. Just a simple change of your mindset.
Yeah, because if you have the right mindset, then you can't really fail, because ultimately what determines your success is the rate at which you're learning. So as long as you're learning, you're always succeeding. Even if you're losing money sometimes or you're making some mistakes, as long as you're learning, you're always succeeding. It's the people who can fail are the people who have, like, they're like, all right, if I don't earn $1,000 in the next 2 months, I'm stopping. Like, okay, well, you can fail that, you know what I mean? But if you focus on learning, you can't fail. Like, unless you get to a point where you can't learn, but, like, you have to be dead. Like, how can you not learn more? Like, there's so many videos, there's so many courses, there's even just, like, reading Facebook group posts and, like, searching through existing conversations. Like, there's so much information out there. It's crazy. And sometimes you find that one little nugget, that one little sentence, and then that gets the ball rolling. For me, that happened with bulk, where and when I first started, I didn't have a set kind of, like, system to determine end dates for my listings. So they were just kind of being posted, and then I'd delete them eventually, but there wasn't, like, set 30 days, set 60 days. And it was kind of a big turnaround for me, was changing that mentality so that now I do not have listings live for more than 30 or 60 days. And all that came from reading one sentence in some forum somewhere that someone sent me that was like, yeah, it's usually better if you have a listing, say that you have a listing and it was live for 30 days and then it didn't produce a sale. It's better to just restart the whole listing's life cycle than to just keep having it live, because you get reintroduced to the newly listed feed, and your listings get more kind of analytical boosts in the first period of their lifetime. So you can just restart that beginning period over and over again, and you'll find that you get results out of items that the first time you didn't get any results out of, because it's not as simple as having the right item. It's also the right item in the right place at the right time. So that was a big kind of turnaround point for how I thought, and it all came from just reading one sentence in a forum somewhere.
Yeah, that's great, valuable information, man. That's awesome. Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to read information about eBay either. I found reading a lot of these books like Think and Grow Rich and from all these really famous authors, and learning from people like, for example, like Tony Robbins and Ty Lopez and Dan Locke. And I mean, they have so much valuable information that, I mean, even if you're not in eBay, you can still boost your eBay profits just by making business deals with people about eBay, for example, like cooperating with people, networking, doing things like that, just learning, just about, how people work simply can teach you just a lot and help your business a lot too.
Yeah, being open-minded is important. That's the. Have you ever read the book The 4 Hour Work Week?
Yes. Yes, I
Yeah,
have.
I haven't read that book, but I know the premise of it, and that's now like I work in the U.S., I live in Nicaragua. That's premise of the book, you know, work in one place, earn in one kind of currency, live in an area where that currency, or where there's a cheaper currency, and then there's like a third component to it. I don't remember.
Yeah, the third component is to pay people in another
Ah.
country
Oh yeah,
too.
yeah. So I have an employee in Morocco. Okay. So I have
Yeah,
some of that going on.
yeah, exactly. And actually, I was watching some videos of the dude that did that book, and he's like, yeah, I don't really do the 4 hour work week because, I'm trying to like scale my business. If I just wanted to like simply stay stagnant, that would work. But if you
Hmm.
really want to grow, I mean, he said that that's really not what his book was intended to teach people, is only to work 4 hours a week.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's just to open
he,
their eyes to the fact that it's possible to cover your basics with that much time spent.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Basically, it's about how to do more with less, how
Hmm.
to produce way more out of way less time. And, that's all about compounding your time, just being more effective, realizing what does work and what doesn't work, and then deleting the stuff that doesn't work
Yeah.
and refining what does work to make it work better. Works really well.
Yeah. Yeah, being efficient with your time's definitely, especially when you become someone who's self-employed, it's kind of critical.
Yeah, yeah, it's really, really hard, actually, at first. I know it was for me when I first started out. Like, I was like playing too many video games and not really focusing so much on the business. And then I was like, oh crap, I have this bill coming up. What do I do? And then it was like crunch time for like the last 4 days before the bill was due because, I hadn't really worked enough during the month to
Yeah.
cover my bills yet. And then, eventually it evolves to where you don't really have to worry too much about your bills and you just kind of like work when you feel like you need to be productive. And
Yeah.
I feel like just working when you're at maximum capacity
Or
does so
efficiency.
much more. Yeah, exactly. Does so much more than just working all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. You can get like that. That's one thing I kind of live my life by, is that like I try and develop a lifestyle that puts me in situations where I want to do the things that are good for me and good for my future. Whereas that's why I've always emphasized free time so much, is because in the past, like when I worked at Starbucks, there are things that I knew were good for my future, but I would be too tired from issues at work or having a long day there and doing other stuff and having a life, that I wouldn't do those things that would change my life. And so having the free time just put me in a point where like I get bored of stuff, and then like I have so much time that I get to a point where I'm like, all right, I'm done watching TV now. That is boring. I am done playing this game. I feel bored. I want to do something interesting. So then move on to doing the work that will change my life, And it's so lucky, honestly, to be able to do that, to be able to have enough free time that like I can relax and then just get bored of relaxing, because most people, they don't ever get to that point because they don't have enough free time. They have like maybe an hour or two a day that they can spend how they want, and if they had 4 hours, then they would just watch TV for an hour or two, get bored, and then maybe do something, that changes their life. But because they only have an hour, it never gets to that point. They never get bored of doing the relaxing, recovering actions, It's tricky.
Yeah. Do you ever find that you have trouble relaxing sometimes?
Definitely. That's why I smoke pot.
I feel you on that, dude. I sometimes, like, I'm so wound up from just, working that, like, it's hard for me to, like, just let it go and
Yeah.
forget about it and
That's
just,
really important. You have to be able to, like, if you can't hold one thing in your mind all the time. Otherwise, you become, like, controlled by it and really, really blind. You have to be able to put it down and distract yourself with something else, and actually be doing that something else, not just be thinking in your head like drop shipping. Like that's something that it's taken me a long time to learn, that it's best to say that I'm interested in like making a new list of items, or I have that kind of enthusiasm about recording videos, what's best is to use it, but not do it until I don't want to anymore. It's best to actually stop while I still want to do the work, because then I don't burn myself out, and I still have that desire to finish the thing that I was working on, or to keep moving and to keep that interest going. And in the past, what I would do is I would be so excited about this idea, this thing I'm thinking about, and I think I have to do this now. If I don't do this now, I'm not going to do it. It's not going to work. I have to do this now. And that what would happen is that I would do a lot of work at once, but ultimately in the long run, I was shooting myself in the foot, because I would work my ass off for a day or two, and then I would crash, and then I would lose track of whatever it was that I was interested in. And so it took a long time for me to understand that it's really important to just do things in chunks and don't use all of my energy up. That's something that has taken a long time to get to really understand.
Yeah, I feel you with that. Yeah, what I started doing was I started, like, I don't carry a phone on me anymore when I leave my house, because if I do, then I'll be on Facebook messaging people, trying to network, and, you know, looking at sales, messaging people on eBay, and, you know, doing whatever with that. And then, like, so I found, like, if it's relaxed time, I shut off my internet, I turn off my computer, I shut off my phone, and once you do that, there's like this almost sort of comfort. It's like calming sensation that, oh, everything's off. It doesn't matter if somebody messages me. I don't have to message them back right now. It's okay. You know, I'm just gonna go play guitar.
Do something, and that's really important to have that part where you're working, but then afterwards, you're done. And you're doing other things, and usually having like a group of people you're close to is really, really helpful. For me, like running the YouTube channel, sometimes the comments can get like I get hurt by the comments, right? My feelings get hurt sometimes, and so the best way to handle that, in my experience, is when you have a group of friends or just a close friend or two, and you can do your work for the day, and then just go talk to them, talk about their lives, just like get lost in them, and then just it's completely separate from everything else, you know, and it really helps realize that, oh, everything's okay. It's just work, you know. But if work is your life, everything feels way more overwhelming. So
that is so true, though. That is so true. It's funny. Like, you make a mistake and it like ruins you for like a couple days sometimes.
Yep.
Sweet, man. All right. Well, yeah, I think that was a good talk, man. Definitely. I like talking to you, Jack. You're a very informative guy.
Yeah, it's fun talking to you too, man. I'm doing a lot of these Skype calls. This is kind of, I don't remember if it was you I was talking to this about, but I'm working on setting up some kind of podcast. So, because I'm already doing the Skype calls, I already do like 3 or 4 a week. So why not just change the way I introduce it? And I'm also making a YouTube video, and I get a podcast episode out of it, because I wouldn't have to do any extra work. I just have to kind of change the format of how I'm recording a little bit. So I'm looking into that. And it would probably be another appeal of these kind of conversations is that they can, like, I don't have to be actively drop shipping to have these conversations with people. You know, a lot of the conversations come from the YouTube network, and just being able to find the people and have the conversation in the first place. That's where the tricky part is. So just, you know, it's good stuff.
Have you ever thought about live streaming it at all?
Yeah. Live streams are like, for right now, my internet is, I could do live streams, but it's just a little bit too finicky at the moment. I work off of like a 4 megabit download speed connection and like a 1 megabit upload speed. So it just isn't, it's just not really that great for it. And there are ways to work around that. But it's just easier for me to wait until I'm back in the States before I start doing any live streaming. And live streaming is also like, I have no problem committing to daily published videos, because like what tends to happen is I get in a recording mood, and then I record like 7 or 8 videos, and then I can publish those for a week. Whereas if I have to be in a certain mood at a certain time every day, I haven't yet achieved the regularity necessary in my life to fuel that. So that's why I prefer scheduled stuff at the moment.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sweet, man. Nice. Have you ever thought about maybe doing a podcast, but it has like 4 or 5 people instead of just 2?
Yeah, it's all things I'm open to. It definitely, like, the more people you have, especially with a podcast where there's no video, people have to know what they're doing more. You can't really, like, talk over people, and audio quality becomes more important. And if you have 5 people, there needs to be some kind of mechanism that's, like, establishing who's talking and that kind of thing. It's definitely doable. But, we'll see.
Sweet,
it would be
man.
kind of cool to do something with like 5 different YouTubers.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Get like Becky Anderson in here and like Mark Augustine or some other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I just talked to Becky and Paul yesterday. Did videos asking them about they both sell courses on dropshipping. So I did videos asking about their experience making courses, why they chose to make the platforms that they used, other things that came up. So it was good conversations.
That's good. That's good. Are you a member of Paul's Titan
Yeah.
dropshipping group?
Yeah.
That's what's up. I
It's a
haven't
good
actually
group.
taken his course. Is it a pretty good course or?
As far as I can tell, it looks solid. Like he just gave me access to the course yesterday, so I haven't taken it yet. But from what I can tell in the Facebook group, the Facebook group itself is really responsive, like much more responsive than other groups that I've seen, in particular about like when new people ask questions. In a lot of groups, new people asking basic questions about dropshipping goes ignored, which is funny because, you can dropship for like 30 days and be able to answer those questions. So the majority of people in the groups could actually answer those questions. But yeah, the group seems fine. The course, I've seen the overview. I talked to Paul about it. It looks very solid. It's like kind of the opposite direction that my course took. So the idea of my course is just to continuously make it bigger and bigger and bigger and put as much information about working from home as possible into it. Like, so it's going to get bigger over the years, right? And whereas Paul's course is specifically like, okay, this is how you start. This is exactly what you do first, and this is what could go wrong here. This is how you handle that. This is the next thing that you need to do, and then you need to do this. He's laid everything out, which works really, really well for a lot of people. I think that's something that people definitely want, is laid out courses. I just took a different approach for my course because of my like long-term interests and also myself as a person.
Right. Makes sense. That's cool though. Nice, man. All right. Well, I think that's good for today. So
Sweet.
I appreciate the time. Thank you, Jack.
No
Definitely
worries,
appreciate
man.
it.
We'll do more calls.
Sounds good, mate. All right. Well, hey, man, you have a wonderful day and be safe out there, okay?
Yeah, you too. Ciao.
Ciao.